What did you make of Broadcom's results? The fact that revenue came in just a bit light, but the AI demand numbers did show a lot of strength.
I love a throwback company. I've been excited about Taiwan Semiconductor, NVIDIA, and I would put this in the same bucket. These are companies that have been around for a really long time. They are ready to meet the moment when it comes to this AI chips, and they know what to do. They have a lot of cash they're sitting on, and so I really like this deal. Is it getting a little bit expensive, like everything else in AI? Yes, but overall, I think that Broadcom is definitely going to be one that's going to stay in that AI chip conversation for years to come.
All right, we do have to remember that chip stocks are cyclical. They've had an incredible run. NVIDIA has been the leader. But I do have to ask, I mean, it can't just always be something else just moving them higher, right? Eventually, they're a cyclical group of stocks, so sooner or later, they are going to have to trade down. We heard some people talk about NVIDIA's earnings actually being a catalyst for the quantum computing trade. Between now and NVIDIA's earnings, how do you see this trade going?
I think this is a thing where it can't always go up, but there are a lot of things here that these chip companies can kind of go from strength to strength on. When you look back, a lot of these chip companies, were starting to get boost on things like the idea of self-driving cars a few years ago, and then it was crypto, and then, during COVID, it was gaming, and now it's AI. And so I do think that there are a lot of separate catalysts that are sort of all happening one after another that play from strength to strength. And so I don't see that as sort of pure kind of frothiness and bubble. I think that there are some real underlying things there. How close are we on quantum computing? Maybe not as close as we want to think, but with the big news out of Google this week, the reality is that people are using these chips. Big, well-funded companies are going to continue to need these chips.
All right. Broadcom also trading at about 30 times. When we're looking at the chip sector right now, I'm looking at NVIDIA. It only trades at about 35 times. Is that a fair valuation? Is that trading at a discount to some other higher valuation names? I mean, how do you look at valuation when it comes to not only Broadcom, but the broader chip story?
A lot of the AI story is hype driven. And that means even though historically chips have been about the least sexy business in the world, we are starting to see, and we have seen a lot of that hype, sneak in. And so these are real companies. They're not always the best priced. But the reality is when you look at the broader market, Bitcoin's going from strength to strength. We're seeing the IPO market heat up again. The reality is we're in a relatively frothy macro environment. And I think that unlike a lot of those things, these sets of companies around chips have real fundamentals. And so do I think they're great price? No, but I'm not terrified of it.
All right. I do want to ask, the whole Alphabet news, is that kind of a double-edged sword? Because remember, Alphabet's not really a chip maker. It's a tech company. And a lot of these tech companies are making their own chips. So how big of a threat is that to the whole chip trade going forward? Because it seems like we're going to keep getting these announcements from companies in tech outside of the chip space that are making their own chips.
I think that it is a bit of a double-edged sword, but the reality is that chips are not a monolith. You need lots of different kinds of chips. We saw that with Apple in the Broadcom news. On one hand, they're maybe going to start making their own chips next year for Wi-Fi, but they're also deepening the relationship, it seems, with their AI chips with Broadcom. And so I think that we are a few years out. This stuff is slow, work intensive, even for the Googles of the world. It's not something overnight. You have to sort of shift out of the software mindset of you push a button and you've spun up a whole new business. And so, over time, yes, in 28, 29, that might be a different case. But, we're sitting here investing in the market today. And I certainly think for today, more focus on chips is going to be good for Broadcom.